When you're doing trauma work with your clients, there are times when a dissociative response pops up right in the middle of the change work. Now, sometimes it's an indicator we've got to slow down and carefully reduce the dissociative response so that they're well within their window of tolerance. Other times, you can leverage the dissociative response. You're still slowing it down, but in a different way. You're keeping them within their window of tolerance, but in a slightly different way. There are different ways of leveraging the dissociative response. The most common ones I'll use will be somatic and parts work, usually combined. And so the somatic way of leveraging the dissociative response is just assuming it's a resource state, gratefully having the client explore the shape of the somatic markers of dissociation, whether it's dizziness or numbness or a soothing feeling. What you do is you have them look for the shape, whether it's fully in the body, outside of the body, whether it's pulling them away somewhere or allowing them to stay present while they're numb. And so what you do is you might, in your mind, just invite them to give it a little nudge to see if there's a way to kind of like spread it to other parts of their body. Levine would sometimes have them follow where it took them if it seemed to be having them drift away, and just see what their instinct is, what their sort of creative passion or desire leads them to do while they're drifting off, if they're able to stay present. Another way of doing it is with the parts work. You talk to it in a validating and grateful way. It's really helpful to do the somatic work combined with the parts work so that there's a good body-mind connection going on. But basically just talking to it in a validating way, seeing if there's a feeling of cooperation, or if you need to do some trust building. And then maybe asking it, it's like, well, since you're here protecting this person, can we work together so that we can allow us a pace away from the intense emotions so that we can let them out a little at a time? So, for example, you might be sitting with a client. She is talking with you and suddenly she becomes dizzy while she's working on a fear response. So the somatic response comes up. You ask the client, oh, well, where is the dizziness or the numbness? And she might say, well, it's all swirling around my head. And so we might say, well, is it okay if we talk to it like it's a person? Sure. Okay. So thank you for being here, dissociative response. So glad that you're here to protect this person. I wonder if we could join you in protecting her. She's got this fear response that has been really plaguing her. It's been way too intense for her to process it and manage it. Can you spread your soothing abilities down through her body? And then, you ask the person, show the dissociative response the shape of your current adult body. And you have the client be breathing and looking at it, and you're kind of either getting permission to talk to it directly or inviting the client to talk to it to build this inner feeling of trust and relationship. If the client might say something to it like, will you please then cover my body and then let a little of that trapped feeling of fear through and then close it back up again? I mean, the reality is, if you're working in a hot bakery, you need oven mitts to hold those trays. It'll burn you otherwise. And sometimes these emotions are way too intense to process with the direct front door approach. So nature has given you the dissociative response. Let's see if we can cooperatively and lovingly leverage it. I mean, a lot of times in the old days with the trauma hypnotherapists and hypnoanalysts, they would do things to purposely leverage the dissociative response for what they would call fractionated abreaction. Today, we would probably call it titrated release. It's the same concept. You allow there to be a space to maintain a tolerable state of intensity. You'll reduce it a bit. If you're so lucky as to have a numbing response come on, see if you can join it in cooperation. And if it just takes over unbidden, and then it means that there's a lack of trust. This is a neural subsystem in the person that is hardwired to take over for protective purposes. If there's big red flags, like maybe there's going to be an extreme hostile backlash response in the person, respect the red flags. Be gentle and curious. Don't push too hard or too fast, but do believe that the client is organized for healing and reconnection, even if sometimes they aren't ready yet and we need to embrace the unreadiness. Lovingly cradling it in our attention, recognizing our own de-skilled and frustrated feelings and working with them on our own because those are our feelings. We can appreciate whatever the client brings.